Hey everybody, and welcome to the episode here at Tribal Trades, the daily show coming at you from the great state of Florida. One hell of a drug. And I do want to welcome you to the channel wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Thanks for watching. Today, the title of this video is Sell in May and Go Away, or Buy in May and enjoy the stay, or I say enjoy the play. We're going to debate that in just a moment. We're going to look at the charts, look at some news. But before we do that, smash the like button. This does help get this channel out to more people, and of course does help support the channel, as does your wonderful comments that you take the time to write. I take the time to read them and respond. So let's jump into a little bit of news here. The sell in May and go away, or buy in May and enjoy the stay. Are we in a bit of a mini bear market that is correlated with the stock market, which is currently in a little bit of a bear market? So maybe there's a little bit of a disruption in the cycle, and maybe that's why we saw that in January. However, we did see that before. Back in April of 2021, we did see a sell-off, and it didn't fully actually recover until a new all-time high came in November, but it didn't get back to 65,000 because it dropped from 65,000 April 2021 down to 28,000, I think was the low in June, and then it started to recover. So that was a few months there, April, May, June, and then July, it was still trying to get back up there. I believe it wasn't until October that we saw it get back to 65, and then November 69. So it took some time to get back there before it made a new all-time high. But we could have a little bit of a mini bear market here, and it's very interesting to see that I think this could be very much correlated because Bitcoin's ETF, that Bitcoin is now moving a little bit more like the stock market. Now, it hasn't had the biggest drop as the stock market, but then there are some stocks like Palantir, for example, that haven't had as big as drops as others. So Bitcoin has had a drop, not a huge drop, not a usual 55% drop that we saw in April 2021. And therefore, maybe we can assume that Bitcoin will start to move again when the tariff situation is resolved and the stock market begins to move out of bearish territory. That's one theory here. The other thing is that Bitcoin may be a front runner here and may front run, just like Bitcoin dropped before the stock market dropped. It started to drop off earlier. Maybe Bitcoin will front run the stock market and begin to move up first before stock market begins to move out. That's another theory as well. Or maybe we're just going to go straight into a bear market, and the 4-year cycle, questionable there. You know, would it still be in play that we have the 4-year cycle? We'd have to really look at that once we get some confirmation that Bitcoin is in a bear market. I would say a lot of the altcoins are in a bear market. Maybe even the altcoins are in a bear market. Some are doing better than others, of course, and some really are, like Ethereum, are already in a bear market. This is what you need to understand. And so I do still think with altcoins, if Bitcoin does go up and have a pump here and makes a new all-time high, some altcoins will run with it and make a new all-time high. Some altcoins will just run but will fail to break their all-time high that they've already set for this cycle, and some altcoins are just going to run, not going to run at all. They're just going to keep going down, or they're just going to stay flatline where they are with their 80-90% losses, and then of course most will go to zero. Altcoins are asset classes right now that are just so young. They are not buy and long-term hold. They're to be traded and sold when market tops come in, and then rebought around the market bottoms. And I did share about my altcoin strategy earlier this week. There is a video called Is it Time to Buy? That's my strategy right there. Please watch that video if you haven't already. I share my strategy, and that strategy is already playing out brilliantly, and I'll talk to you that in a little bit. But let's quickly look at, I thought this was quite amazing. This message was embedded in, Bitcoin's 666 block. Okay. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12 verse 21. And I guess they've done it on the 666. The correlation there. And so if you don't, you can look up what 666 means in the Bible there. But of course, coming up to Easter time, so I do want to wish everyone a wonderful and happy Easter. I will be still doing my Stocks on Sunday show. I will be recording it on Saturday though, and then that will be pushed out on Sunday. Please make sure you check that out before the stock market opens on Monday. We'll have the stocks on Sunday, and I will be doing additional stock show probably on Wednesday, and I will be doing that in the foreseeable future. So I have 2 stock shows, one on Sunday, one on Wednesday. Okay, there. And of course, I'll have my crypto shows daily as usual, apart from haven't been doing a crypto show on Sunday. Although if we see some life come back into this market, then, perhaps I'll start doing a little bit more shows on Sunday again there. We'll see what happens. It's been a little bit flat in the market currently. Okay, so I thought that was very interesting there. So I hope you have all a wonderful Easter weekend there with your family and friends, enjoying the wonderful weekend. Okay. So let's look at the Bitcoin charts here. And as we can see, if we are just going to have a little bit of a, some people say we're in a bear market already. Well, obviously there's no confirmation of that, number one. Okay. So, first of all, we really need to see the MACD cross over, and it's getting pretty close. It's getting very, very close. So that would be a little bit of a red flag for me. If that happened, that would be interesting. I'd definitely be a little bit more nervous about where we're going. So that's going to be a big one that I'm keeping an eye on there. However, we do have the hash ribbons buy indicator. We do have the stochastic RSI on the weekly oversold, and it is starting to go up here. You can see that the blue is going above the red. We want that, and then we want that breaking through like we see over here. Okay, we have broken through the tribal trades trend line, one line to rule them all. And of course, we've held this other tribal trades trend line as support, and the tribal trades trend line as resistance. We have broken out there. I know some people have been drawing it like this, of course, and it can be very subjective, but that's the way that I have it at the moment. However, we do need to stay above the 200 EMA. Let's go to the daily time frame here. Actually, the 50 EMA on the 50-day moving average, which is here, and then the 20 EMA on the daily. We need to hold those levels there. But if we were to lose this access here, so 83,000 is a bit of a line in the sand. If we go below that, then we're very likely to go back and visit these lower levels down here. The 50 EMA at the weekly at about 78,000. And the 50-week moving average down at about 76,000. So we're likely to come down and revisit the 78 to 76 zone there. And then I would probably think, okay, possibly a mini bear market. We do have a little bit of a head and shoulders forming here. There's the left inverse head and shoulders, which is bullish. There's the left shoulder. There's the head. There's the right shoulder forming. It's a little bit of a weak right shoulder, but it's a shoulder all the same. And so that if that does break to the upside, that is going to bring quite a violent move to the upside there. We are getting stopped at the 50 EMA on the weekly. Where do we need to break above? Where we need to break above is we need to break above this level here. This is 86,400 to make a higher high. So what we have right now is we have high, but it's not a higher high. Here's the higher high over here, up at about 88,500. Then we have a higher low. So right there, we got the higher low just about 4 days ago, held the line. Now we're coming up trying to make a higher high. If we don't make a higher high here, it doesn't mean that the trend is off and we're not going to see an uptrend or a shift in trend. Remember, we already have this break here. However, it is subjective. Some people might draw the trend lines a little bit differently, but I am saying because we're above the 50-day moving average, this is where I've chosen to draw it. Trend line there, and you can see it on my chart there. I think I've got some pretty good touch points there for it. There you can see touch points, all the way back to January. Actually, this is how crazy good this is. I've taken it from the top. I've taken it to the touch point there. If I move it in any further or move it out any further, we lose that touch point. So I feel like I've drawn my trend lines very accurately. And if you've been watching this channel from May of 2024, when I started this channel, you know that my trend lines have been spot on. So I feel like I've drawn a good trend line here. I think this is a solid trend line. I do believe we have a break out of the resistance there. We have the hold of the support, and you can see this trend line here, how many times it's come and touched it. And we could go back years there for that trend line to have shown some great support and at times resistance here. We had a little bit of resistance when it broke below it. But what would be But also what could happen, so first of all, let me say the 28 MA on the weekly time frame, that's what we need to get above. We need a full candle open and close below that. And then I feel it's only a matter of time. But the reality is, so that's the next big one. So we got the 50 MA on the daily. That's now resistance. But this here, because this here creates, when you break through the 20 MA on the weekly, you're going to create a higher high. Okay, you're going to create a higher high, and that will be an official break of trend. And then the 200-day moving average. Now, if we were to reject there and capitulate down, then this was probably a dead cat bounce, a bear market rally, and it could could possibly be over. I'd really have to reanalyze if this was to happen. I do believe we are going to get up to the 200-day moving average and retest that, and we're either going to push through and have a bull market continuation, or we're going to have a rejection and capitulation to the downside. Of course, we could initially get rejection, come back down the 200 weekly, and then take off, for example, and that would be a great entry. However, here's another thing that could play out. What happens if in this move here, we don't get above this 86,400? Well, what could happen is we could come back. So we've made a higher low, and then we haven't made a higher high. We could come back and make another higher low before then coming and making a higher high. And that higher high would only need to beat this one here. And that level would be 85,400, for example. So that's something that could happen. Then your higher high target changes, okay? So even though I say this today, if this candle stops here, comes back, let's say all it needs to do, we do not need to lose. This is why I say 83,000 is a line in the sand. This is the candle here. This is your higher low. So the higher low, write this down, is at 83,111. If we were to lose this here, then the likelihood there, now we've made a lower low. This invalidates this breakout. This invalidates this move. We're likely to drop back below the resistance, then drop below the support, which will be at around the same level, drop below this Fibonacci, and the likelihood of coming all the way back down to 78, 77, 76, and maybe even lower is very high. And then this was just a little bit of you have these breakouts and these downtrends, you have these moves to the upside, and then what happens is you come down lower, and we could come down to 73, 71, and we move to the upside and then lower down like that. And so you just have to be careful with that situation. That's how we sit at the moment. I just want to give an update on the Tau trade. The Tau trade absolutely crushed it. We gave this in the Tribal Trade Discord, one Discord to rule them all. And if you've been in the Discord, you could have absolutely got in on this monster trade here. Show you in the Discord where we gave this trade. There it is on the 17th of April. There's the trade there to take the trade on the breakout of resistance, to take it at 233. And that happened on the live trading session later that day. We had that session about 6 hours later. It was still in that zone. We were able to take the trade in a community in the live trading session. The breakout target was 238. Now, obviously, it's exceeded that, and that's why I keep people updated in the trading floor. And you can see here that I updated everyone who took the Tau swing trade with me on the Tuesday live trading session. The signal was also given on Wednesday and yesterday. Well, that's Thursday. That was Friday when I said that. And it just shows you there moving up. And then here that I'm still going strong from my entry. Currently, it's at 283. So I updated the community that I wasn't getting out of the trade, that I was staying in the trade. I was taking some profits at certain levels and still in that trade, and was able to ride that up. And it got as high actually as 289. 289's had a little bit of a pullback, and I'm sharing regular updates in the Discord there. So if you do want to be part of the Tribal Trades Discord, you can do so. There is a link in the description. You can click on the More button. That will pop out and will give you an option to click on there and get started in your journey in the Tribal Trades Discord. Obviously, we have the Leverage Lounge there, aka the Party Zone. And this was a swing trade, and I shared my swing trading strategy. I'm not going to repeat it here a few days ago on how this could turn to be a bigger play. If Bitcoin breaks out now, I'm going to stay in this Tau trade, and I'm going to keep riding it up, getting my entry at 233. What if Tau gets back to $700-800? I'll still stay in the swing trade, but we'll also be scalping it and longing it and shorting it in the Leverage Lounge. You can learn how to do that as well. We also have stocks plays as well. We have a stocks channel there. there, stocks plays, and that's why I will be doing. There's some of the entries and take profits, share those Monday to Friday. They're absolutely great. So that's worked out really, really good there, as well with the crypto plays that we had there. So basically, I'm also in the Stocks with Josh Discord. I have my own Crowned Traders channel in there as well. And of course, I share some insights, some trade setups, some resources, and of course, education and entertainment, because I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. Are you not entertained? Well, that's going to leave it for today. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the show today. And of course, as always, until the next episode or until I see you in the Discord, happy trading.